Let's turn away from Kolkata for a moment to what's been happening in United States. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Washington, D.C. to attend the 4th Nuclear Security Summit. Mr. Modi met the jubilant Indian diaspora ahead of the crucial summit in Washington. The summit is scheduled to begin with a dinner for leaders of the 53 participating countries at the White House. India to share the assessments of the threat of nuclear terrorism. India will submit a progress report on nuclear security at the summit, with a focus also on the looming threat of nuclear materials falling into the hands of Islamic State or some other such terror group. I want to go straight across to Washington because Smita Sharma, our diplomatic editor, is there, and she's got panelists both from Pakistan and India at the moment there to try and understand the significance of this summit. Smita, tell us first, what is on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's agenda and what really are we expecting to come out from this summit in Washington?
Well, Rajdeep, Prime Minister Narendra Modi came out briefly from his hotel, the Intercontinental Willard. He shook hands with that Indian diaspora there, which is a signature style of his. He's just had a bilateral meeting with John Key, the New Zealand Prime Minister, and is also currently going to go into a meeting with the LIGO scientists, the men who are responsible for the scientific breakthrough of gravitational waves. India has just, in fact, sanctioned, the cabinet approved the LIGO India, in fact, being in February. So they will be building that gravitational detection center in India as well. But evening is when President Barack Obama hosts all the visiting heads of states, the representatives, for that working dinner at the White House to discuss the nuclear security threats. Now, I am here outside, in front of this Washington War Monument, really. And one of the main concerns at this nuclear security summit is about nuclear wars triggered off by, rogue elements, by terror groups, or acquisition of nuclear weapons. Aparna Pandey, who is the director for the India Initiative at the Hudson Institute, is here with us. And so is Akbar Ahmed. He was the former Pakistani High Commissioner to UK and Ireland and is currently the chair of Islamic Studies at the American University. Professor Ahmed, if I could start with you. How vulnerable does Pakistan look today when you think of nuclear terrorism, keeping in mind the very recent, in fact, Lahore attacks that took place at the heart of Punjab in Pakistan?
A terrible event indeed. Let me assure you, as far as the Pakistan nuclear program is concerned, is probably the safest element in the government of Pakistan. Is regarded specifically by the army, a cell within the army, and it's given the highest priority, and I know how much effort goes into that.
But the nuclear facilities might not really be possible for the terror groups to acquire, but when you look at AFPAK and the grey areas, you have Taliban, Al-Qaeda, now the ISIS presence, it's really about the dirty bombs, the contamination of urban centers through these dirty bombs.
Yes, that is a danger, but Samita, this applies not just to Pakistan, this applies to almost any country, particularly those countries which are still to be fully developed, who have similar programs. And as someone discussing this very, very serious subject, nuclear programs, and as someone completely committed to peace and friendship between India and Pakistan, I would urge the subcontinent on both sides of the border to think very, very serious about the subject and initiate a separate dialogue.
Separate dialogue, but Aparna, India and Pakistan, they cannot see eye to eye when it comes to issues of terrorism. There's just so much of severe mistrust. What really can be the cooperation expected on issues of nuclear security?
What they can do is they can follow on from the 1989 agreement. January 1st of every year, India and Pakistan exchange a list of their facilities. They can actually move forward and actually have discussions, let scientists have discussions, because it's paramount importance for both countries that their nuclear facilities remain safe and their fissile material remains safe.
But what really does India bring onto the table today? What does Narendra Modi bring onto the table today to the summit here with 50 heads of states, more than that? And Obama has been pushing for this initiative, but this could perhaps be the last nuclear summit we are looking at.
Mr. Modi brings what every Indian Prime Minister has brought, which is that India is a responsible nuclear power and a mature power, and that it has signed almost all global conventions. It has recently ratified the Nuclear Liability Convention and therefore expects companies like, I just heard today that Toshiba Westinghouse is going to set up 6 nuclear reactors starting June in India. So So India wants to present the face of a responsible power to the world, and that's what Mr. Modi will try and do at this summit.
Do you think India can also take the leadership in a way? Because if after Barack Obama, we do not know who's going to be the next US president, but can India take the leadership, keeping in mind its clean track record on nuclear issues?
Smita, India has to take the leadership because it is emerging as a major power, not only in the region, on the world stage. I want to remind our friends in India and our friends in Pakistan that the founding fathers and their attitudes to each other. Mahatma Gandhi had said, I will spend 3 months out of the year in Pakistan creating bridges, building bridges. Quaid-e-Azam Mr. Jinnah had said that I would propose a joint defense and foreign policy between India and Pakistan. So we need to also go beyond 1989 when we became confirmed enemies, as it were, to the founding of India and Pakistan and see what the principles were and try to recreate a situation where we can talk about these issues because any nuclear strike would be catastrophic for both India and Pakistan. It would involve the deaths of millions of people, and whether Hindus die or Muslims die or Christians die, for someone like me, that's an equal tragedy. So we have to stop it before it happens.
One final question to you, Aparna. We know that during the Kargil war, reports suggest that there could have been the possible use of a nuclear button, and that panicked America and President Clinton at that point in time. So from an American perspective, how vulnerable do they find South Asia today, and how easy would it be for something like an ISIS or an Al-Qaeda to trigger off these two neighbors?
There are 2 points here. One is that things have changed in Kargil, and the main thing is that Pakistan has started to have what they call battlefield nuclear weapons or tactical nukes. And so that is going to increase something. If India and Pakistan both have tactical nukes and they're actually on the border, it's going to increase the chances of something happening if a colonel or a major decides to actually press a button. The second
so will it be possible for these terror groups really to be triggering
material? Yes, actually, it's happened a lot more in Pakistan because almost every terror incident on a Pakistani military base, we found out that base had nuclear weapons or some fissile material. So it's a problem which Pakistan will have to take care of.
Serious concern, Rajdeep, and clearly for two nuclear neighbors like India and Pakistan, it's something to deal upon very, very seriously. Akbar Ahmed Sahab, he was born in Allahabad, moved to Pakistan during partition. Aparna here understanding that American perspective of how things are moving in that region. But all of these issues, and Nawaz Sharif is not here. Had he been here, perhaps we would have seen that meeting also take place between him and Narendra Modi.
Smita Sharma joining me there from Washington, D.C. with the latest update on the Nuclear Security Summit.
Now, Pakistan captain Shahid Afridi might have landed himself in trouble yet again while speaking about fans in India. Asked about fans in Mohali before their match with New Zealand on Tuesday.
Go to different villages across India and actually stay there for a month and see the villagers, help them. And what it does is it opens your eyes to a whole new part of India that you never really saw before. So Amrita gives